Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our NFL Week 10 preview between the Oakland Raiders and the Baltimore Ravens. Now let's look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with Oakland.
I think, quite honestly, the biggest matchup advantage for the Oakland Raiders as they take on the Ravens is between the wide receiving core and the secondary. So I look for Oakland to air it out just a little bit more so than usual versus that Ravens back half. The reason why the running game right now is not working how the Oakland Raiders want it to work. Plus, there's some injuries going on in the backfield. We don't know if Darren McFadden is going to play this week, but that's why they have to count on Denarius Moore, Darius Hayward-Bay, and also Derek Hagan. And don't forget about the outstanding tight end Brandon Myers, who's quite honestly one of the more underrated tight ends in the league. So I look for the offensive line to give them time. Carson Palmer has to protect the football, and he'll be able to find these targets downfield. Now you look at Tommy Kelly and that defensive line. Stopping the run, one, is about attitude. It's about getting good run fits. If they get better run fits this week versus the Baltimore Ravens, I think they can have a chance. The linebackers then would have to fill those holes and make plays at or near the line of scrimmage. You can't have gaping plays like they did last week versus the Baltimore Ravens. And the safety play for Oakland also will be huge as they take on two outstanding tight ends in this matchup in Dennis Pitta and Ed Dixon. Now let's move over to the Ravens in this ball game, and I just mentioned their two tight ends, Dennis Pitta and Ed Dixon. The reason why the tight end play will be vital this week is you look at the matchup between Michael Huff and also Tyvon Branch and Matt Giordano. I think that's an advantage that the Ravens have in their offense, and they're going to look to move the football down the field via the pass and utilize two tight end sets, not only throwing the football down the hash, but also opening up the running game. They got to get better and be a more cohesive unit. So I think utilizing those tight ends, one, will open up the running game and also free things out there on the outside for those wide receivers. Now, you look at their defense. Yes, they are giving up a lot of yards throughout the course of the game, 20-20, but they stifled down in the red zone. But this week, I look at the two outside guys, Courtney Upshaw and Terrell Suggs, being vital. Why? The Raiders love to run that outside zone. You got to set the edge if you're both of those guys, whether they run to the left or to the right. You got to set the edge to stop the Raiders, keep that running game bottled up on the interior. The running game is vital this week for Oakland. They have to have some balance, even though they may air it out a little bit more. I know they're going to be without Darren McFadden, but that's why you draft guys like Tywan Jones and bring over Mike Goodson from the Panthers. You got to get some type of balance in McFadden's absence. And you look at the red zone defense for the Ravens, outstanding last week versus Cleveland. Think about it. Cleveland had 5 possessions that ended up in field goals. 1 touchdown, they lose that ball game. So the red zone defense has to be a key cog to their game plan this week versus Oakland. Let's look at the personnel breakdown. You look at the advantages for the Baltimore Ravens, the O-line versus the Raiders' defensive line. If they can continue to lean on their defensive front, they could do a good job in running the football. For the Raiders, they have the advantage at the receiving core. I like the receivers. I like their ability to get downfield. They're going to work the short to intermediate passing game. I think that's where they can have a chance. And yes, I have a check mark by the quarterbacks for Oakland. I do believe Carson Palmer can get this offense moving in the right direction. He just has to protect the football. I like the Ravens in this ball game, much more of a complete team than the Oakland Raiders, although Oakland will be able to move the football against this Ravens defense. Where the matchup is, the red zone defense versus the Raiders red zone offense, so I have to side with the Ravens in that aspect. So I look for these guys to win a very good ball game out there in Baltimore. I also want to give a huge shout out to Raven fan forums and Raider fan forums for always showing football game plan support.